Hey everyone, this is Keith Baker. I am the host of the Dancing with Cancer podcast, where we talk about how to live an upbeat, joyful life in the middle of the cancer storm. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is Keith Baker with the Dancing with Cancer podcast, episode 28. We are on vacation. By the time you see this, we will be back home. We are in Florida, enjoying the weather, enjoying the time off and the time away. As general rule, again, my Jakifi is doing extremely well with my cancer in the treatment, and so everything's positive in that regards. Just for whatever reason, my Crohn's seems to be real active this week, and that's kind of a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. We just deal with it and keep rolling on. So anyways, we're going to I think take a look at there's a lot of talk in our modern society about being free or having freedoms, and the freedom of this and the freedom of that, and freedom to do this and the freedom to do that. And I think we're going to take a few weeks and talk about that. Freedoms, and what does it mean to be free? And we're free from what? And how do we get there? And what is that could jeopardize that freedom, whatever that freedom looks like? And so that's what we're going to be looking at over the next several weeks. So I hope you guys come in and join with us as we talk about these things, because I think it's important for us to be aware of some of the different competing ideas and concepts about what it means to be free, and what in theory threatens that freedom, or what protects the freedom, and exactly what we're free from, and some of those kinds of things. So again, most of you know that that this is a faith-based podcast, and that I believe in the God of the Bible very, very much. That's really the foundation that I built my life and my family upon. And at 63 years old, with 2 adult children and 2 grandchildren, I believe it even more now than when I started as a teenager, that it really works, and it's the real deal. But as much as I believe in a living God, the God of the Bible, I believe that there's also this arch enemy, Satan. The devil, Lucifer, Beelzebub, whatever terminology you want to use, that this Satan is a fallen angel, that he is, he's very crafty, and he's very dangerous because of his ability to deceive us, that he has gotten literally thousands of years of practice, and I think he's gotten very good at being able to again, deceive us and get us to make choices that oftentimes aren't in our own best interest. And so, Scripture tells us that Satan is a liar and he's the father of all lies. That he was a murderer from the beginning, and I think it says in another place that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I have come that they might have life, and they might have life more abundantly. Again, that's Jesus talking in that case. When we look at Scripture, it gives us a very dim or dark view of Satan, because I think it wants us to understand the danger that is there. Now again, compared to God, right? He's nothing. It's not his strength that makes him dangerous. God is all powerful, and there's no issue there. The real challenge is his ability to lie and deceive us. And I think that he probably understands human nature and even human psychology very, very well. And so he's learned over the centuries what the best ways are oftentimes to push our buttons and to get us to buy into the bad ideas and make choices that not only hurt us oftentimes, but hurt our children, our grandchildren, our spouses, or our neighbors, or our co-workers, and those types of things. And when we talk about this concept of being free and freedom, I think it's tied very much to this idea of God and Satan. Scripture talks about if the Son sets you free, you'll be free indeed. When I started thinking about possibly doing a topic on freedom and trying to define exactly what freedom is, I did a real quick search on Scripture, and man, there's like over 50 Bible verses having to do with freedom and setting the captives free and all those types of ideas and concepts. And so it became very apparent to me very quickly that this idea of freedom is a very important concept according to Scripture, and I'm assuming that if it's in Scripture a lot, it's very important to God. And so I hope as we get into this and talk about these different things that will help everyone see things through a different lens and maybe make life easier for us. That truly where the Spirit is, there is freedom. And I think sometimes we miss out on that in the church. And so I just want us to fully understand everything that God has for us and for us to get the most out of this relationship we have with God. That again, the joy, the peace that I often refer to, well, all of this ties together. You know, it's not that one thing does it and one thing stops it. It's kind of like an accumulative impact of all the choices we make and all the things we believe and the way we think. It changes how we act. And this ties in with all of that. And so again, as we look at this concept of freedom, I was just shocked, maybe amazed how much Scripture has to say about freedom and how important it is that we understand and take advantage of the freedoms that are ours based on Scripture and due to our relationship with Jesus Christ. So as we think about Satan, you know, again, the Scripture tells us that he's a liar and the father of all lies. And then for Jesus, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So on the one side you have the truth, Jesus. The other side you have a liar or the father of lies. The other thing, again, to keep in mind, I think it's incredibly important that we keep things in perspective. Again, understanding that Satan is just a fallen angel. Now, again, he's extremely good at his ability to deceive, and that's the danger. My understanding is through my study of Scripture is that Satan was an angel. Because of pride and arrogance, he felt like he should be worshipped. And because of that, he was thrown out or kicked out of heaven, cast down to earth. I think there are references of him being the prince of this world. But Satan, unlike God, Satan cannot create anything. And so everything he has in this world, he steals or he counterfeits. And I think this is an important concept for us to understand, that a lot of times what Satan does is he takes something that God created, something that was beautiful and magnificent, that God has created, and then he twists it just a little bit to make it his version of what it is. And then he takes that and he offers it to us. And honestly, a lot of times it looks appealing. It looks like, oh, wow, this is great. But that old saying, when things are too good to be true, they probably are. And this probably applies to a lot of things that Satan does. So maybe another way of trying to understand it or think about it is a fisherman, right? When he goes fishing, he uses bait, but he uses a specific bait depending on what he's trying to attract or catch. So if he's trying to catch, for example, bass, he may use different bait than if he's trying to catch a catfish, right? But ultimately, what the fisherman's trying to do is deceive the fish into seeing that bait and thinking, oh, wow, that looks good. And the fish makes a willful choice then to bite or eat the bait, and then he gets caught on the hook. And of course, once you're hooked, oftentimes then it's too late. And I think for many of us, we lose sight of the fact that oftentimes those shiny things that Satan kind of puts out there in front of us, we see them, we say, oh, that looks so good, or that's so tempting, or man, I just a little bit, nobody will know. And so we make a willful choice to engage in those things or to take a bite. And sometimes we get away with it. If you've ever been fishing, oftentimes you get nibbles or you get hits that you don't catch the fish, right? The fish gets away the first time, maybe the second time, sometimes the third time. But eventually, if you keep biting at the bait, if you keep buying into the lie that's being sold to you, sooner or later you're going to get hooked. And for many, oftentimes, once you're hooked, it's not good. It's not good. So again, we got this picture of God, the Creator, all powerful, no limits, and He's offering to us this amazing life. Now, it's not always easy because we live in a broken world because of sin, but He promises that He will be with us 24/7. I will never leave you nor forsake you. He promises that He will walk with us in this journey, that if we ask, He will give us wisdom. But then you got Satan comes through, right? And what Satan does is he takes things and he says, here, there's an easier way. You don't have to always take the hard way. Here's an easier way. And he takes something that God has and he counterfeits it. It says, here, take this instead of what God's offering. This is easier. This is quicker. This is better looking. This is sweeter. This tastes better. And so, for example, I believe that God has designed sex for marriage between a man and a woman. And it is easy. I think Satan then comes and he takes that thing that was designed for a specific purpose. The purpose was to bind a man and a woman together for eternity, for their lives on earth. In other words, when a man marries a woman and a woman marries a man, they are committed to each other, and Scripture says the two become one. And so I believe that sex was part of the process that was, one, obviously to procreate, to create other children, the future, but also it becomes a bonding process that helps attach the one person to the other. That's a very sacred and important process that is part of the strength of the marriage, that holds the marriage together. And so what Satan has done, he said, hey, look at this thing I've got. It's called sex, and it's like really fun, man. You want to do this. Trust me, you want to do this. And before you know it, he's got people doing things they should not be doing, premarital sex, extramarital sex, and pretty much any other variations, to where it's bizarre how far we've come from what God designed versus the counterfeits that Satan's offering. But see, Satan throws it out there like, oh, it's no strings attached. You can do this. It's all good. It's all good. No harm. And without fail, people who buy into the counterfeit at some point are harmed by the counterfeit. It does not provide the same thing the original design provided. The original design was something to make a marriage better, to make people happier, to give them fulfillment and peace and joy on the inside, to draw them to that person, that commitment to each other for a lifetime. But no, Satan's version, no strings attached. Just do what you want, because if it feels good, do it. The number of times that I've had friends, men who were good godly men who tell me that they were going through a difficult time in their marriage. It just seemed like they'd grown apart, or they were having a lot of arguments and fights, and they were just struggling. And all of a sudden, this young woman becomes a part of their life, whether it's at work or after work, they're going out with friends or whatever capacity. And because of the hurt and loneliness inside, they get caught up in an affair or having sexual relations outside of the marriage. And at first it was just a one-off type thing, and then before long it grew into more than that. And then the spouse found out, and just everything exploded. And before they knew it, they were divorced. Their kids were caught in the middle, not knowing if they should trust mom or trust dad, who's honest, who's lying. And the anger and the bitterness it just exploded. And it's devastating. And the chaos and the hurt and the pain. The picture that Satan paints, the bait that he uses, is seldom what actually is the end result. It's never what the end result is. You know, it's kind of like cigarettes, right? They used to advertise cigarettes and they would glamorize it and say, oh, look at this, it's so good, it's so great, look what it does for you. But then 20 years later, when you have lung cancer, you realize, oh, maybe that wasn't the best idea. And it's the same way with Satan and his lies and his deceptions. He paints a picture, a mental picture in your head of how great this would be. And sometimes I think we worry that we're going to miss out on something, you know, or you know, it seems like everybody else is having such a great time and a great life, but not me, because no, I'm trying to live by the rules and I'm trying to do the right thing, and maybe I'm missing out. And we're so afraid of missing out that we sneak and do things we know we ought not be doing. Oftentimes, the person knows right from wrong, but they make poor choices because of maybe at the time they're emotionally wore out, or maybe there were a lot of issues in their family growing up, and so they were broken on the inside, and it made it difficult to have healthy relationships. But again, we've talked about this in the past. A lot of times, once we become a Christian, that's just step one in the process. We need to allow God to come in and start healing us on the inside, start shining light in the dark corners of our lives to help bring healing and restoration to us, so that we can be that healthy husband or healthy wife, the healthy mom or the healthy dad that we need to be, for the sake of our spouse, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our friends, our co-workers. Satan is a liar and the father of all lies, and he comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. He leaves pain and brokenness. I believe he thrives on pain and brokenness. Again, we believe that he was an angel, a very beautiful angel, a very powerful angel, and because of that, he became very proud and thought he should be worshipped. Now, if you've ever known someone that's super proud, and someone that's bigger or stronger puts them in their place, oh, they become angry. No, I mean angry. They become bitter. They hate that person. How dare they? And I believe Satan became proud. He went up against God. God kicked him out, because God is stronger and will always be stronger. And now Satan hates God with a passion that we cannot even understand. The depth of the hatred that Satan has for God is probably incomprehensible to us. And if Satan could destroy God, he would. He would do it right now. But he can't. He can't touch God because God is too big, too strong, too powerful. The only thing that Satan can do to hurt God is to hurt us. And so that has become his passion, is to destroy your life, to destroy your spouse's life, destroy your children's life, to destroy my life, to destroy my children's life, to destroy my grandchildren's life. And I believe every time someone falls, every time someone makes a bad choice, he's clapping and laughing and singing, because he knows he's causing pain to our Father in heaven. He knows that what breaks our heart breaks God's heart. He knows what causes us pain causes God pain. And I believe he literally is celebrating your brokenness when those things happen. You know, when you have the affair and there's the divorce and everything explodes and there's chaos everywhere and there's hatred and yelling and screaming and all that chaos that comes in when your children don't know in the midst of that storm, in the midst of that chaos, I believe Satan is laughing at you and at your God. And he thinks he's winning, but he cannot win. He will ultimately lose, but he is winning that battle. And so I just want everyone to recognize, don't fall for the bait, right? The bait is enticing. The bait looks good. It wouldn't be a good bait if it didn't look good, right? It wouldn't do what it's supposed to do, and that is to catch fish or to catch us, right? If it wasn't good, if it wasn't attractive, if it wasn't, like super attractive, like, oh, that looks so good. I so much want to fill in the blank, right? It wouldn't work if it didn't do that. But again, once the fish is hooked, then it's too late. The damage is done. And too often, we played games with things we know we shouldn't be playing with, and we've gotten burnt. But the challenge is, and the problem is, it doesn't just hurt us. It hurts our spouse. It hurts our children. Sometimes our grandchildren. Satan is a liar. The enemy is a liar. And so as we do this conversation and talk about freedom and what freedom looks like and how it works, we need to understand that it's all this foundation, this concept of God wanting what's best for us and loving us, and us also having an enemy out there that's all the time, 24/7, trying to deceive us or trick us into taking the bait, right? Making a poor decision. That's the foundation that we need to understand and grasp mentally and emotionally to understand how all of this comes together and how all this works, to properly understand why certain freedoms are good and bad or not, or what, or how they work. We first have to understand this underlying foundation of God versus Satan. So that's it for this week. That's the groundwork. That's the premiere for the upcoming series. Again, the concept is freedom. Freedom from what? How's it work? One of the lessons will be a prison called freedom. One of the talks will be about there'll be freedom from, and you plug in the thing, and there'll be several different topics or a few different topics that we'll talk about that how do we experience freedom from ... whatever that is. Again, we love you guys. Thanks a lot for coming and hanging out with us. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, ring the bell. We love you guys. We will see you again next Monday. Adios.